Maria.
I'm Brittany.
Soichiro.
Brooke. Holly.
Our stakeholder, Dr. Jim Lucas, is the Assistant Dean of Global Education and Curriculum in the Office of Undergraduate Education in the Provost Office.
So, Dr. Jim Lucas's hypothesis contains these statements. Students tend to gather information about Japan through anime and manga. Students don't really know much about Japan except for that they like Pokemon Go, right? Who doesn't like Pokemon Go? Japanese people say they face the issue of Americans bringing a pop culture reference when they think about Japan. When students tend to think about traveling overseas, they think about Europe or where English is spoken, so it's more home-like. Students tend to think more about China than Japan, or they reference Asia as a whole. And students see Asia as being different compared to Europe or the United States. People perceive that Asians took our jobs, and this could cause students not to want to go to Asian countries.
Go.
Dr. Lucas gives us some interesting questions in the video. The first question is, do students' parents travel abroad? And the second is, have students traveled with their parents before? These two questions ask about whether students have stepped off their comfort zone before. The following two questions are about students' knowledge about Japan. They are, where do you get your knowledge of Japan, and where are your perception of Japan? The last one is, are you afraid of unknown? This one is about how much students are willing to get to know Japan.
For our interviews, we decided to interview a male and female Chinese student, a male and female African American student, and a male and female white student, and also an ICA, which is known as an intercultural aide. We chose these people because we wanted an answer that represented MSU as a whole as best as we could, knowing that MSU is so diverse. We randomly chose these subjects, and we selected an ICA because we wanted feedback from someone we know is culturally competent.
In our interview, when asked where they get their knowledge about Japan, students said they get their knowledge from TV, news, social media, although it's not always reliable, their classes, and the people around them. When asked in the survey where they gain their knowledge about Japan, most students said they had gotten their information from the news outlets, online, or on TV. When asked if they thought that they were knowledgeable about Japan, most of the students answered that they didn't think they were knowledgeable about Japan, and only 2 of the 6 answered that they were sort of knowledgeable about Japan.
When asked in our interviews what makes a place attractive to travel to, our responses varied between a few different things. 5 of the 7 said that things like landmarks, landscapes, and architecture is what appeals to them. 1 of the 7 said that food is what attracts them, and 3 of the 7 said that things relating to history and historical events attracts them. When asked in the interviews what the first thing is that comes to mind when you think of Japan, our response consisted of 2 of the 7 people saying that the Japanese language is what comes to mind for them, and 1 of them said sushi, and 2 of them said cartoons and anime.
Next question is, would you ever travel to Japan? Most of answers were yes, and 1 person said, depend on what it was for, about possibility. Next question is, why or why not? 3 people said because of history, and the others said culture, different health system, and sushi. Japan is known as a historical country for MSU students.
From our interviews, we found out that some people like anime and some people don't. On the survey, 1 being strongly agree and 6 being strongly disagree. Most people answered 3, which is in the middle. There was no majority answer. For the next question, we learned that most MSU students do not follow Japanese pop culture. Along with that, we discovered that most students do not learn about Japan through celebrities and news in US.
When we asked students what they thought some stereotypes of Japan were, they said that they thought that they were smart and hardworking. Some people made the generalization that they all like sushi and anime. Some of our interviewees said that they have heard the stereotype that they are shy and all look the same. Other students said that they believe that people from Japan are good at math.
What preconceptions do you have about Japan? Almost all people have positive preconceptions. For example, 2 people think Japan is a clean country, and others think polite, delicious food, and so on. But 1 female African American worry about looking out of place and not welcoming if she visits.
From this project, our group learned that most people have traveled to other countries with their parents, which inspires their future traveling. Also, students do not feel as though they have an understanding of Japan and Japanese culture. We discovered that MSU students get their knowledge about Japan through the news and from pop culture. We found that Dr. Jim Lucas's hypothesis was indeed correct. Pop culture and anime are very influential on MSU students' perceptions of Japan. And student perceptions of Japan are heavily influenced by their previous travel experience.
Off to a great start. Did you say?
Okay, bye. Start over.
Okay, ready?
Okay, start over.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Fine,
Is
I'll
it
just
like
start.
making it worse?
Office.